Welcome to today's video, guys. Bit of a mad rush. Today we're going to be photographing Chesterton Windmill. Apparently the sales are on and Mr. Baker has arranged to meet me there. See you in a bit. Now this one today is a bit of a mad dash after work. I've literally left straight from the workplace. Had some clothes in the back of the van, so donned them and off we go. And it came about because I contacted Paul during the week and said, I'm going down to Portsmouth on Saturday, and that's your neck of the woods, do you fancy meeting up? And he said, well, I'm coming up to Chesterton Windmill. I'm like, oh, okay, that's only an hour from me. So we're doing Chesterton Windmill tonight. And then I've got to go to Portsmouth tomorrow to go and watch my son do some wrestling. Busy weekend. And here he is, Mr. Paul Baker. What Good trip evening. Is complete without meeting Paul Baker? None.
Quite right.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite right.
So true, so true. And little did I know just how much Paul's influence was going to have on me this weekend. A superstar of a man, I can assure you. But before we get into that, we need to crack on and get some photography done here at this wonderful 17th century tower windmill located in Chesterton in Warwickshire, sporting an elegant new look with its recently refurbished sails.
Okay, and welcome to our first composition. It's a very, very busy place, this, so I'm trying to work my way around, find what works and what doesn't. And this side of the windmill at the front looking at the sails is the one that I really want. And we're looking at long exposures tonight. That's what I would love to do. But, always a problem. This side is a crop field, which is going to move. So I am playing around with my exposure settings a bit. And I've taken 1 at 100th of a second, focused on the crops in front of me and the windmill behind, and I'm about to take one with my ND32 on, which will give me a 5-second exposure focused on the windmill like that, and then hopefully the wind will pick up and all of these wheat, barley, whatever it is, will just blow around and become blurry. Hopefully a little bit of artistic choice there. May work, may not, may go in the scrap bin, but if you don't try, you don't know.
As you can see, there are a lot of people here today, so the clone stamp tool will come into full effect. Now in the end, I decided to go with just the one image that was focused on the tower itself. I like the way the slight softness and movement in the crops helps to tell the story of the day, effectively what I was trying to achieve with the longer exposure, which really doesn't work.
Well, have a look back at it. Didn't really give me what I wanted. I needed to take that for a lot longer, I think. But I'm backing up now and I'm going to meet Mr. Baker and try and get out of his shot.
See clearly in my shot.
You're in my way, sir. Please kindly move. Well, whilst we're here around the crops, I think I'm going to try and get an angle with a line that leads into them. Obviously sticking to where the farmers actually been. Don't go wandering through crops, that is the thing, but there's a lot of people here, so it's probably going to be a bit of cloning going on today, unfortunately. I don't normally like to clone, but it is what it is when it's a public hotspot. That's what you got to do. But I'm trying to find one of the paths that will give me a leading line to it. Possibly that one, maybe. So I've come over to another section of tracks where the farmer comes through the tractor lines, and I'm trying to work with those and make them a leading line. They don't quite work. Can I go a bit higher? This one's got a slight bend in it that takes you off to the windmill, so I'm hoping I can make it work because of that, but we do have so many people in the way. We're talking 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 people here. not including myself and Paul. So it's going to be quite a lot of cloning. I'm trying to wait for them to move out of the way, but it's kind of impossible. I think this needs to be a landscape. Let's get over here and get an angle on the line. Something around about there. So this has got the windmill in a slightly different location. It's on the left hand side this time as opposed to the right. Now this is definitely a trade-off to keep the sails with some sort of perspective and these leading lines in. I've got to forego having the arches within the building separated. So yeah, it's not the best composition this, but well, I think it's worth taking anyway. And I'm loving the way that these crops have these bright yellowy green heads and then these dark green leaves and stems. It's giving me some fantastic contrast. It's making up for the lack of light on the scene. Brilliant. And then of course you've got the white sails against the darker building. So there is quite a bit of contrast going on in this.
So as you can see, we're relying on the natural contrast that's within the scene to give this some pop. The yellows and the greens contrasting and the blues and the whites. But a little bit of light wouldn't go amiss.
Oh, we're actually starting to get a bit of side light. Let's get that quick. Hopefully that picked up. Just a touch breaking through.
Now I just about managed to catch the tail end of the light as it came through, and we're getting some natural shadows and highlights within the building itself, as well as the crops being illuminated just that little bit more.
Okay, so that's two compositions from this side as well. Ideally, I would have stuck with the other side, but the leading line just doesn't work. So using the crops as the foreground was the only choice. But I think I want to try and get, hopefully what's going on behind me somehow in the shot from over the side of the windmill to the right. Oh, you pack up and the side light comes back again. Look at that. Okay, we're getting glorious light on this. So I've got the windmill just off centre on the left with the sails pointing in. I've got the foreground element of the nicely lit, whatever they are, barley or wheat. And thankfully I've taken the shot because it's just faded out again. But yeah, wow, that worked really well.
Now that's a bit more like it. I've managed to time this one correctly and capture the full effect of that glorious side light.
Okay, so that's this side melt, but you can see those light rays behind me. Hopefully they're showing up. I really want to try and get them if I can, but that means I've got to change my angle to over there. Look how beautifully that's lit. Hopefully there won't be too many people in the way. Okay, at the risk of being repetitious, I am using these crops again as a foreground interest, but this time I've managed to get the arches within the building lined up. Unfortunately, I need to clone out people again. The other problem I got is the side lights all disappeared. It was beautiful just now, but the sun's gone down behind a big bank of cloud. So yeah, just have to wait for that to come back. Well, I've sat on this composition now for probably about 40 minutes and I've had no light hit it. We just had a touch breakthrough over there and we had some spectacular stuff going on over there, but nothing directly onto it. I'm hoping that what's over to my left there is just going to give us a touch on the side of this windmill. Question is, how long do you wait before you get another composition?
Well, unfortunately the side light didn't come back, so we're relying on the natural contrast within the scene again. But I did change composition and then got offered another little nugget that I could play with.
Well, I have set up, I say that, look, colour, I'm completely the wrong side. Right, I need to move quick. If I'm quick, can I get across? There we go. Damn. Here we go then, a bit of colour in the sky. Let's get this in the landscape. Lens cover off. Okay, so we're working with one strip of colour coming through a gap in the clouds. And I think it's probably going to be the best bit we get this evening. So it's keeping an angle where I've got the sails in shot and I've got that colour in the sky, so it's just encroaching. If I can just move around a touch more. Okay, let's try something like that.
Well, it's always nice to get a little bit of colour in the sky from the photography gods, but I was a little bit slow off the mark for this one, so didn't manage to get it in its full bloom. But I did have another try, and I did have another idea that I wanted to play with.
Okay, one with some colour in. Let's go back to one of the other compositions that I had earlier and get this a little bit squarer on, or closer to the compositions I had. No, can't work this angle. That bit of colour is far too far to the left. Well, okay, I don't think I got full advantage of that then. But I'm going to go off and get a long exposure now, I think. I'm going to make my way around to where the sails are facing me and hopefully get the clouds moving so that they're coming over my back, over the windmill. That's what I'd like. So let's see if we can get an angle for that. Okay, so this is the best angle I can get on the windmill with the clouds coming almost from behind me, but I'm also trying to get those arches lined up. I'm probably going to go vertical. So let's do the standard for getting a 2-minute exposure. We need to get our shutter speed to 1/8 of a second, and I can just whack on my 10 stop. Right, composition first. Such a lovely moody sky. Okay. So because I want this to be all about the sky, I want to get the windmill just off the left because the sails are slightly pointing as if it would be leading in from the left-hand side. You'll see when you see the picture. So I'm going to put this almost on the left thirds. And then I've got 1/3 of the frame devoted to the crop. Right, so 1/8 of a second. Let's get my histogram up. That gives me ISO at f9, ISO 250. Okay, so we're not blowing anything out there. So now it's time to grab the filters. Right, so I've got the 10 stop, I'm set at 1/8. So what I want to do now is get one at around about a 25th to a 30th. So that's going to boost my ISO up. I'm going to take a shot of these nice green crops. And I'm going to go back down to 1/8 of a second. Get my ISO back down to 250. Pop on my ND 1000 and go to 2 minutes. Right, so there we go. We've got a 2-minute exposure going. Hopefully there's enough movement in that cloud to give me some streaking all the way down. But it's really windy, so I'm going to stand in front of the camera and try and make sure it doesn't move.
So to clarify, I've taken a faster shot that's focused on the foreground by upping my ISO, and then I've reset to my 2-minute exposure to give me that lovely streaking in the clouds. but I couldn't tell on the preview on the back of the camera if it was just a little bit too blurred out, so I hedged my bets.
Well, currently I am now taking a 30-second exposure because even though I think I might be able to darken down the clouds in the sky for that one, I'm not sure on the streaking in it. It's a little bit too bright to view on the back of the camera. But that's the trouble. We're shooting in high contrast situation here, a bright sky and a dark foreground. So I'm going to take one at 30 seconds as well. There is quite fast moving cloud up there, so that might work better. Let's have a look at that one.
So here's the 30-second version of the same shot, and well, I've got to admit, I think I prefer the 2-minute one. But I really wish this was the last shot I took of the day, because this happened. Yep. I foolishly decided that I would try and take one last shot when I got back to the van that would have given me a wide shot of the windmill. Well, Nikon is notorious for having difficulty when it comes to focusing in the dark, and by the time I'd actually got around to trying to focus, it just wouldn't work, so I decided to back away. Straight down onto the lens. Lens first it went, and it completely dislodged the zoom ring on the lens. And it turns out when I put the lens on, because I did manage to squeeze it back together, it wouldn't focus anywhere between 24 and 28mm, and it wouldn't focus between 65 and 200mm. And I was off for a trip the following weekend. But I did have a saviour in Mr. Paul Baker, so it's off to Portsmouth we go. I'll see you next week.